Okay, let's be honest Every few years, may bagong it girl. Bagong face, bagong muse, bagong Pinterest board ng sambayanan. And of course, sabihin natin na parang, of course, she is the next big thing. She is redefining the era, no? She is the blueprint. And then maybe after mga 3 years, no, maghahanap ulit ng bago. Kasi when we talk about most it girls, no, they peak early. Medyo controversial, but I feel like when we talk about Anne Curtis, no, she really perfected the it girl formula. Na para bang lahat ng up-and-coming it girls, they are just remixing the formula that Anne Curtis made and optimize it for their own. Hindi ko sinasabing gayang-gaya ha, pero yung framework para nanggaling na rin sa kanya. You know, because it girls, no, they aren't made. They are born. And may formula yan, a total of 7 to be exact. And honestly, when you talk about most celebrities, they would usually get 3 or 4 of those rules correct. Minsan nga swerte na lang kapag umabot ng pang-5. But when we talk about Anne Curtis, no, it's 7 out of 7. For 2 decades, no, and counting, no, that is not a trend anymore. That is cultural dominance. Kaya for today, hindi lang tayo magpa-fangirl, no? We are going to go through the whole career of Anne Curtis and itatest natin yung It Girl formula. And at the end of this video, you would realize that Anne Curtis isn't just an It Girl in the 2000s, no? She is and will always be the eternal It Girl. Ganda. When you talk about rule number 1 of being an it girl, it means dapat maganda ka. Pero hindi lang dapat maganda, you know, sobrang ganda mo dapat, but with a purpose. And at the time nung pumasok si Anne Curtis sa Philippine showbiz during the 2000s, that face was currency. Pero ito yung realidad nung panahon na yun Ang daming mistisa at ang daming maganda. So ang tanong is, bakit si Anne? You know why? Because she broke archetypes. Yung mga nasa isip ng mga tao is that they expected a mestiza, no, to be soft-spoken, elegant, controlled, medyo mainhin, no? Medyo tahimik sa umpisa. At baka hindi lang sa umpisa, no? Hanggang dulo, no? But, you know, Anne Curtis said, "Love me." No? Pero magbabaliwan tayo together. Ganun. You know what? Ang OA din niya, no? In the most charming way possible. She was social, but kanal-coded, no? And when we talk about the Filipino psyche, like we have a very specific trauma response when it comes to beauty. Pag sobrang perfect mo, we distance ourselves. At pag sobrang relatable mo, we don't see you as aspirational. But Anne, no, like, hindi niya kailangan pumili, no? She balanced both exceptionally and authentically her. Alam mo yun, parang she felt so expensive, pero feel mo tropa kayo. You know, that unique mix, no, ni Anne Curtis isn't just admirable, but also attachment. And you know, no, when people are attached to you, no, you don't just trend. You root. And let's be real, no? Every new it girl, no? Ganyan ang ginagawa. They would try to replicate the mix, no? Social pero relatable. High fashion pero memeable. Main character pero accessible. But you know, Anne did it before it even became a strategy. Like, alam mo yun, like she did the cool and relatable girl even before influencers made it a content calendar. Diba? Ganda! Now let's talk about rule number 2 of being an it girl by Anne Curtis. You know, the Philippine showbiz ecosystem is built like this. Boy plus girl equals love team. Love team equals revenue. And revenue equals longevity. Ganda! So when we talk about the girl aspect of it all, no? Historically, as a historian myself, is always half of something. Now imagine entering that showbiz system as Anne Curtis. Wala! Basag ang buong love team system. She worked with Sam Milby, Jericho Rosales, Derek Ramsey, Richard Gutierrez, and John Lloyd Cruz. Alam mo yun, maraming lalaki, no? Pero walang permanent. Lahat probationary. Walang an and forever leading man. You know, because she was never the satellite. She was the gravitational pull. No? And every time na may leading man siya, the energy will always be, oh, si Anne Curtis, may bago namang kapartner. And, you know, the difference is very significant because the man was just a chapter, but Anne Anne is the market herself. Ganda. And in this market, no, that is just goddess level market positioning. Kasi alam mo yun, when the pairing ended, like she just felt the same. Premium, booked, blessed, and busy. Because alam niyo nung panahon na yun, like being paired with Anne equates to visibility. Being Anne meant inevitability. Hindi niya kailangan ng permanent na romantic anchor just to validate her stardom. She was the perfect leading lady, but she was never defined by the role. And alam naman natin to that love teams tend to become cages disguised as crowns. Pero Anne, no, like she wore the crown, but never the cage. It is giving goddess of woman energy. Hindi lang niya na-master yung system, no? She also made that system kneel. Now we go to rule number 3 of being an it girl by Anne Curtis. Let's clarify something nga. When it comes to an it girl, hindi lang siya pretty face. Kasi kung pretty lang, no, lahat na lang na may ring light, no? Katulad ko, it girl na. An it girl, by definition, is someone that can do it all. And if we're gonna be very, very honest, no, Anne Curtis did it all. Kasi the standard of being an it girl, no, hindi lang to basihan sa ganda. The standard is Anne Curtis. She didn't just become an it girl, no, she perfected the formula. And one of which is because of her range, no? With the roles that she did. Simulan lang natin muna, no? Pinakauna, of course, we have Dyosa. Title pa lang, panalo na. Dyosa? Tapos sabi ni Direk Wendramas, no?
Bakit pa tayo mag-audition kung nandiyan na rin naman siya?
Because during that era, when it comes to what is a Dyosa, no? Ang automatic na sagot is Anne Curtis. I swear, meron talagang era na every time na kapag sinabing Dyosa, Anne Curtis siya. Na hindi na to adjective, no? It's a proper noun already. It's giving network flagship energy na para bang sinabing ikaw ang mukha ng network na to. And you know what? That's powerful because that's not a role, no? That is coronation. Now we talk about No Other Woman. You know, this is not just cinema. This is peak gay awakening for a lot of us. You know, after this movie, no, ang daming bakla rampa sa runway na nag-imagine na may sariling wine glass. Ganda! Swimsuit mo ba yan o balat mo? Suddenly, lahat may kabit alter egos. You know, she made kabit couture, no? Problematic? Yes. Iconic? Oo. And you know, the reason why it worked is because she portrayed elitism like it was an aspirational lifestyle. Diba? Ganda! And alam nyo, we believed her, no? Girls wanted to be her. Other girls hated her. And you know what? The dolls memorized her, no? You know, that's cultural penetration in its own. And then we go to Baler, no? Sabay may ganito. After all of the kabit roles, no, we go to Baler. You know, walang bardagulan dito. Walang wine glass effect. It is just pure acting. Dito, sinabi ng industriya, no, Anne Curtis, what can't she do? You know, it girls, no, they are usually accused as surface level only. And literal na sabi ni Anne, sige, I shall give you depth, no? Dubi-dubi dep-dep. So now we go to Boy Bus, no? At ito ang tunay na plot twist kay Anne Curtis. You know, most actresses age to softness. But you know, sabi ni Anne, nasa ng baril. This is her in her most Mortal Kombat era, no? Training montage realness. Alam mo yung bugbog siya, pawis-pawisin, pagod. There is no stylized glamour in this film. Sa film na to, mukha siyang pagod. And that made her powerful. Kasi kapag willing ka magmukhang pangit sa screen, Anne Curtis na yan eh. That is just it girl confidence. And now let's take a trip down the memory lane. Wow, yes. And talk about Anne Curtis's most iconic line sa The Gifted. Alam mo yun? No? An it girl calling you bobo. Na para bang sinasabi niya talaga, kung bobo ka ngayon, bobo ka na talaga. And that's what made her as an it girl so different versus the other it girls in history. Not because she is a certified biologist, no? Like, nobody could deliver that line, you know, that powerful, that amazing. Wala akong notes, no? That scene in itself is just peak cinema. At kapag sinabi natin peak kung peak, she is an actress on her own level. Ganon siya kagaling. And that's why she doesn't get outdated. O di ba na-connect? Because she refreshes herself. And that's why parang walang umay factor rin talaga. Wala eh. Parang siya na yun. Siya lang yun. Because rule number 3 is because she isn't a one-note it girl. She is the market. Now, let's go to rule number 4 of being an it girl by Anne Curtis. Alam niyo, when we talk about Anne Curtis, like, she was never boring. Okay, pag-usapan natin to. Back then, like early 2010s, or even till now naman, the worst thing you can be in showbiz here in the Philippines is if you're not scandalous. Kasi, ang boring. Boring. And when we talk about Anne Curtis, she has never been boring. Alam niyo, she was always the spicy one. Sorry. Hindi yung not in a messy for attention way. It's more on may mangyayari dito kung nandito siya. Alam nyo, like the press loves that. Because the press doesn't chase perfection. The press chases tension. Now, let's talk about the bar incident. No? The alleged sampalan. The I can buy you this bar and your friends. That is when the editors-in-chiefs in all of the different publications in the Philippines, they said, we have a headline, ladies and gentlemen. Piniga, pigang-piga lahat ng pwedeng parata kay Anne Curtis back then, ladies and gentlemen. Some historians would arguably record this as one of the top 10 most talked about Filipino issues in recent years. Yun totoo. And alam mo, ganun ka-powerful si Anne because naalala ko yung usapan on parang, totoo ba to? Or nag-acting siya? No? Na parang it really still blended towards her acting prowess. Na people were like 50-50 kung totoo ba talaga yun. That issue escalated to, kung pwede lang, sa Supreme Court. Like, people were scandalized, people were offended, people gagged, and because people were obsessed, that was cunt. And in the long run, parang nag-benefit rin talaga yun sa kanya eh. Because if your scandal feels like it's aligned with your aura, it becomes a mythology. And instead of destroying her, the incident actually intensified her presence even more. Most stars panic and retreat, but not Anne Curtis. Literal na sinabi niya na, sa tingin nyo, ako nagsabi nun? O sige, di ako na. Wala pa ata nakakagawa ng ganun ka-unhinged, Yan ang totoong, no one's doing it like her. But that makes her different because Anne absorbs the heat. Because at that point of her career, like, she wasn't part of the market. She was the market herself. Like, ganun siya talaga ka-powerful, you guys. Like, you can't cancel Anne Curtis because she can cancel you. And that is cunt. Like, ang galing niya doon, man. Kasi to be honest, parang feeling ko kaya naman niya talaga ako bilhin. And that's just the it girl formula working again, the press being obsessed with you because an it girl means your life is content, your mistakes are headlines, your apologies are events or YouTube thumbnails, Ang ganda. But you survive all of it. And if we're all going to take a look back, like Anne Curtis didn't survive the press cycles, she fed them. Busog na busog. And you know what? Not by being reckless, but because she's unforgettable. Now, let's go to rule number 5 of being an it girl. Okay, let's be real, Ang daming sikat, pero hindi lahat mabenta. Kasi magkaiba yun eh. Magkaiba yung trending kasi cute, and also conversion is king. And you know what? There was a very specific time in Philippine history where if Anne Curtis endorsed it, automatic in, automatic cool, at automatic mabenta. Skincare? Oo. Shampoo? Syempre. Clothes? Of course. Tech? Yes. Mass brands? Yes. And luxury brands? Of course. Alam mo yun, like, she could sell to the titas and also to the Tumblr girls anytime and any day of the week. And that's not normal because usually celebrities choose a specific lane. Either pang masa ka or pang elite ka. And parang sinabi ni Anne na parang, why not both? And alam nyo, like, hindi siya mukhang pilit. Hindi siya mukhang nag-a-adjust sa personality ng brand. Nandun lang siya. And then parang minsan the brand just adjusted to her. Anne Curtis on a billboard didn't just mean I'm available. It also meant I'm current. She was selling relevance, Brands loved her for it. Because when you talk about Anne Curtis, like, naturally aspirational siya as a person. Alam mo yun, like, she looked social but never detached. And brands recognized and saw that. Kaya, tiba-tiba si ate mo. And that's why even today, no, kahit yung trending na Chinese New Year jacket ng Adidas, like when she posts, it sells. Ganda. That's just the it girl fantasy, di ba? Ganda. Now let's go to rule number 6 of being an it girl by Ann Curtis. You know, sa panahon ngayon, no, trending is temporary. But when you are memeable, just Dyosan ka na. And this is where papasok si Ann Curtis because she didn't just trend, no? She became part of the Filipino language. Let's start with evidence A, no? Asawa ni Ann Curtis. Pag-usapan lang natin to, no? Nung binansagan si Erwan na asawa ni Ann Curtis, in no any way, shape, or form is the goal to diminish him, to reduce him, no? The goal was to elevate his title. Kasi being the asawa ni Ann Curtis, that's just giving legendary status symbol. Di siya nakakababa ng pagkalalaki ng isang tao. It's giving you married the eternal it girl. Kaya ang powerful because that is prestige, no? Wala, that Ann's name just holds. Diba ganda? And now let's go to evidence B, no? Na malungkot ang mga OFW every time na birthday ni Ann. You know, ever since nangyari yun sa Showtime, kapag birthday ni Ann Curtis, no, nagpo-post ang mga OFW ng mga throwback photos nila sa Manila. Many heartfelt captions, no? A lot of OFWs missing home. And that is when you know. And that is when you know na this has become a national holiday. Kasi aminin nyo man o hindi, but there is this collective awakening. Now, kapag naisip mo na birthday ni Ann Curtis, maisip mo yung kapamilya mong nasa ibang bansa. Nare-remember mo yung cousin mo sa abroad. Nare-remember mo yung tita mo sa Canada. Naalala mo yung kaibigan mo na random na master sa Australia after niya mag-graduate, no? You know, Ann's birthday, no? It just accidentally became part of our psyche. Naging reminder na siya na on this day, do not forget your OFW families out in the country, out in the wild. And now we go to evidence C. Bikini mo ba yan o balat mo? No, from no other woman. No, let's be honest. Ilang swimsuit kaya ang nasabihan na balat mo ba yan o bikini mo? Na kahit man malinaw naman, no, na swimsuit yon. At wala pong ahas na involved, right? Nagamit to madalas no, sa kaibigan nating marupok. Ginagamit to sa group chat kung may merlion tayong kaibigan na nag-send ng thirst trap sa grupo. No, it escaped cinema. It escaped our vocabulary. That is just linguistic dominance from the Ann Curtis. And then we go to evidence D. Di minahan. You know, sa The Gifted, no? There was a scene there. Papasok si Ann sa restaurant and then tinanong siya ng receptionist in Japanese. Like, full-on Japanese girl. And then sinagutan ni Mare in full-on straight Japanese. Iconic. Like, even 50 years from now, magiging example yan sa computer subject ng isang grade schooler. Pero at the same time, like, that moment in itself, no, taught a whole generation a very important lesson. Like, okay lang naman mag-pick up ng Japanese lines, no, sa isang anime, sa trending na TikTok sound, no, or nakuha mo yung Roshaimase kapag pumapasok ka sa isang Japanese restaurant, no. Ann Curtis told us na huwag ka na magpanggap. And naniniwala ako na dapat natutunan ay sa puso to ng mga Pilipino from Batanes hanggang Hulo. And now let's go to evidence E. We talk about The Voice, no? The concert era of Ann Curtis. Like yung buong boses ni Ann, like she sold seats, girl. Coliseums. People paid. Sold out shows. Naging meme yung voice niya, but it also expanded her mythology. Because even when your imperfections, no, clearly defines you as an it girl, now that is just powerful. Ang untouchable. And all of those viral moments, you know, hindi lang talaga siya naging trend, no? She didn't just dominate media, she also dominated us. Like, she integrated to the Filipino language, no? And that is powerful. Now, let's go to rule number 7 of being an it girl by Ann Curtis. You know, when we talk about most it girls, no, they peak. And then they panic. May bagong hairstyle, may bagong branding, may bagong best friend sa network. Nafe-feel mo tong mga it girls na to that they would really try to amp it up. Amp it up! But because of all of that, you can just really feel the scramble. And when we talk about Ann Curtis, no, hindi siya nag-scramble, no? She transitioned. And let's talk about the most obvious na pivot. It's Showtime. When Ann Curtis joined Showtime, it doesn't feel like for survival. it felt like for her expansion. Like, hindi mo talaga masabi na pumasok siya sa Showtime just because she wanted to stay relevant. But honestly, I feel like ang taas na naging influence niya to the show's success. Because in my opinion, no, like she modernized noontime shows forever. And I feel like she did, no? Lalo na with Vice. She was the one na nagdala ng millennial timing. Internet reflex, and she had yung balance nga ng social at saka kanal na no one was doing and is doing it like Ann Curtis. And she wasn't the loudest in the cast, but she was also the one most current. And alam niyo, importante yun because parang she never looked outdated because of it. Like, there was never a time na I really felt like she was just catching up. Every single area niya, like, I don't know, like, she just felt aligned. Like, wala siyang jeje face. You know, that's reinvention without desperation. And that is why Ann Curtis didn't just become an it girl. Like, she perfected the whole formula. And kapag ginawa mo yun, like, you don't age out. You don't fade out. You don't beg for relevance, no? You don't beg for reach. And Ann Curtis is not nostalgia. She is the damn infrastructure. Like and follow for more.